have some breaking news that's just coming in, and this is on account of the United States Supreme Court's decision on Donald Trump's tariffs. In fact, what we're given to understand from agencies is that the United States Supreme Court is not ruling on Donald Trump's tariffs. In fact, it issues more decisions, but does not really rule on a tariff. So that's the big breaking that we are getting from agencies. We're yet to get more details on what the Supreme Court has really observed as far as Donald Trump's emergency tariffs are concerned. Remember, he imposed these tariffs on account of these being emergency measures, and that really has been countered by businesses. This has also been countered by Supreme Court in its earlier hearing. Now, remember, in November 2025, the Supreme Court appeared skeptical of the legal basis of these sweeping tariffs. It questioned the legality of these tariffs as well. And in fact, they have also been challenged by small businesses and 12 United States states. 12 American states have contested these tariffs, and they have challenged these tariffs in the Supreme Court. In fact, in other courts as well. The United States Supreme Court does not rule on Donald Trump's tariffs. It had to earlier give its ruling a couple of days back. It was on the 9th that the United States Supreme Court had to give out its ruling, and of course it was pushed to today, which essentially is the 14th of January. But the United States Supreme Court does not really rule on Trump's tariffs. However, it issues more decisions, and we are waiting to hear more on what these decisions essentially are, given the fact that the United States Supreme Court has over and over again stated that Trump overstepped his authority on imposing these levies on several countries across the globe, and it has completely disrupted the geo-economic balance, the trade balance across the world. In fact, the Supreme Court has a 6-3 conservative majority, and Trump, in his defense, he cited the IEEPA, which is essentially a 1977 law. It was an emergency procedure. It was an emergency law that Donald Trump used, and of course, small businesses and the 12 American states that have challenged the authority of Donald Trump to impose these levies, to impose these tariffs, they said that it was a misuse of this emergency law. In fact, the impact of these tariffs, ladies and gentlemen, has not been seen only on the countries upon whom these tariffs have been imposed. In fact, Volkswagen, if I were to give you an example, its sales in the United States fell in 2025 because of tariffs reportedly. In fact, according to what reports are suggesting, global sales fell by 1.5%. In fact, sales in the United States of this particular company fell by 8.2%. But the United States Supreme Court is not ruling anything on Trump's tariffs. This is a developing story, ladies and gentlemen. We will be closely monitoring it to see the impact of what the Supreme Court's decision is going to be. What would Donald Trump do next? Will he respect the Supreme Court's authority, or will there be a countermeasure the Donald Trump administration is going to come up with, given the fact that they have been rather blatant about the use of force or the use of Donald Trump's will as far as that is concerned? But for the moment, it's our now time to shift our